All right, Mayed Ali, Senior Defense Analyst, joins me live from Islamabad. Thank you so much for joining us on the discussion. Now, as the numbers stack up, PTI is firmly in the lead, enjoys a simple majority, but not an absolute majority. It might still need the support of smaller parties. Your reflections, your thoughts this Thursday morning in Naya Pakistan, as Imran Khan's party calls it.
We never thought that it would. We thought that it might get some lead or some seats,
right,
but not as many as they did.
What would you attribute it to?
I think the establishment played it very smoothly all along before the elections, and we were not expecting them to do more on the day of polls, but it was done in a very immaculate manner. The failing of RTS, and then we are still watching these returning the presiding officers taking these bags to returning officers. So there's a huge cloud over the whole thing, which is happening in Pakistan at the moment.
Mayed Ali, you say that the Pakistani establishment, I don't quite know who you're referring to or what you're referring to, but be that as it may, you accuse them of playing it immaculately and playing according to a script. Now, in your estimation, the comments made by Shahbaz Sharif and Bilawal Bhutto Zardari, for instance, Shahbaz Sharif says he rejects the results due to manifest and massive irregularities. Bilawal says it is inexcusable and outrageous. How credible you think these elections were?
I have serious doubts on the credibility of these elections, because I had my whole team in Lahore, which was working in different polling stations, and we had similar complaints which were registered last night when we were filing reports on the proceedings of the elections, and we had similar reports from our correspondents across the province. So you see, the one big problem was that the Form 45, which is given to the representatives of the party or polling agents, as they're called, that was not given to them, and at many places these representatives were just thrown out of the polling station booths.
Right, Mayed Ali, do stay on. I'm now joined by my other guest, Dhruv Jaishankar. He's a foreign policy fellow at the Brookings, India in New Delhi. Dhruv, thank you for joining us this Thursday morning. Imran Khan as Prime Minister in Naya Pakistan, what would that mean for India and the world at large? Your thoughts?
Well, I think we're all watching the results coming in. And I think, three broad responses, I think, what would be going through people's minds. I mean, one is the sudden rise of Imran Khan. I mean, 4 or 5 years ago, he had been written off, or at least was not seen as progressing. But now for example, he looks on the cusp of becoming Prime Minister. And it was only a few years ago that a Pakistani journalist described him as the world's oldest teenager. Someone whose understanding of Pakistan's problems was not much more than Justin Bieber's, and we have him in a position of a seat of power. I think a second thought is basically, and this will depend a little bit on how many seats the PTI gets, what the relationship will be going forward between Imran Khan and the Pakistan Army in particular. And I think we forget now sometimes that in the 90s, Nawaz Sharif was seen as at times as the preferred candidate of the Pakistan Army. Of course, things did not go smoothly, particularly after the Kargil War. So I think we have to see now whether what that symbiotic relationship so far between Imran Khan and the army is going to evolve into. And then I think finally, we'll have to see what directly his approach to India is. Obviously, we've seen quite a bit of anti-India rhetoric during the election, but what now that you're in a position of power, what that will actually mean in terms of bilateral relations with India.
Dhruv, I'm intrigued to ask you this question now. Imran Khan calls it Naya Pakistan. Naya, for those of you who don't understand Hindi or Urdu, is new. So he calls it New Pakistan. But if the Pakistani army is the constant in this equation, what is new in Pakistan? How will things change on the ground for India or for any other country of consequence in the region and beyond?
No, I mean, I'm perhaps not the best person to answer that, but I think he has been tapping, and not just lately, but he has been tapping for many years into a dissatisfaction with some of the systems, the political systems in Pakistan, anti-corruption efforts and all of that. That's one issue. I mean, these are issues of governance largely. The army will really play a role on a few other matters, including civil-military relations and including foreign relations, particularly national security issues that are related to Afghanistan and India. And that is, has been the preserve of the army. There are clear bounds beyond which civilian leaders of all stripes have not been able to cross, whether it's Zardari, whether it's Nawaz. So that I think will be the constant. The Naya Pakistan bit I think really is to appeal to a part of the electorate in Pakistan that seems to be frustrated with some of the old politics.
Dhruv, I want to probe you a little further on what Imran Khan's foreign policy might shape up going forward vis-a-vis the US and China. Now, we heard Imran Khan speak in the run-up to the elections. He, in an interview which was accessed by WION, said that Pakistan under him would not like to be the hired gun of America in the region. He also says he's expressed reservations of the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, CPEC. What might that mean for Pakistan-US relations on the one hand and Pakistan-China ties on the other hand?
So I mean, that's interesting. I mean, he has been very critical of U.S. policy, in drone strikes, things like that, for many years, and it has appealed to his base constituency, particularly in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, and I mean that seems to have been the motivation behind a lot of it, and that has led to differences. I was in Washington several years ago when Imran Khan visited, and he was given a cold shoulder at that time, despite being this rising force in Pakistani politics. On China, I think things have changed a little bit. China had initially invested very much in the relationship with the Sharif brothers in the Punjab. And if you see where Chinese investment was going, project investment, it was really largely in Punjab and to some degree Sindh. And what we've started to see just in the last few years is a bit of diversification away, a bit of outreach to other parties, including the PTI, and then also investments physically in other places, including Quetta, including Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, and a few other places. So there has been a little bit of moderation in that, and I think the Chinese understood that they needed to look beyond the Sharif brothers and appeal to other constituencies in Pakistan. But the U.S. relationship is going to be, a bit difficult. He has a long track record of criticizing the U.S., and that has been very politically popular in Pakistan.
Dhruv, talk us a bit, if you will, about what this might mean for India specifically on the issues of terrorism, cross-border terrorism, Jammu and Kashmir. Now, we know that Prime Minister Modi invests time and energy in establishing a personal rapport with world leaders, including Nawaz Sharif, for example. But Imran Khan seems to be an unknown entity, an unknown quantity, so to speak. And he said yesterday that the Indian media loves Nawaz Sharif, Prime Minister Modi loves Nawaz Sharif, the Indian government likes Nawaz Sharif, implying thereby that they would like Nawaz Sharif to continue to be in power in one way or another. So how do you think this might pan out for India in the immediate term? Can Prime Minister Modi and Prime Minister Imran Khan get along?
I think there will be an opening. I mean, there's always with every political transition, there's always an opening where two sides try and figure out what they're comfortable with. Obviously, I think this is a constant. I mean, the India relationship is very much in the domain of the Pakistan army. So again, beyond very clear constraints, no civilian leader will be able to do very much. However, India still has an interest in engaging with Pakistan on two counts, and one is, I think, to build larger constituencies, which has not been very successful for the last 15, 20 years. The other one, and this I think has been the driving force behind Prime Minister Modi's outreach to Nawaz Sharif, is really, I think, to see, to play the role of the bigger power in order basically to avert third-party intervention, which is something Pakistan has wanted. And so I think that constant engagement, particularly between 2014 and 2016, was really motivated primarily by that consideration. Now, I think we see a return to that, particularly after the Indian elections next year, the general elections next year. So we'll have to see. There will be several summits, including the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, SARC, and others, where Indian and Pakistani leaders traditionally have both been present and sometimes have met on the sidelines. So I think that the openness to some kind of engagement will be there on the Indian side. But that being said, again, one, there are clear confines beyond which the army will not let any civilian leader go, and we have to be realistic about that. And two, two, I think Imran Khan's own rhetoric, again, being very sympathetic to the Taliban, a number of other things, just generally a sort of a soft on violent Islamism, I think will not go over, obviously, well, will put constraints on himself in his engagement with India.
Sure. Dhruv Jaishankar and Maid Ali, do stay on. I want to go across to my colleague Anas Malik, who is standing by in Islamabad as we speak. Anas, good to have you join us back on the discussion. What are you picking about the latest election leads or results at your end? Anas?
Well, Ramesh, clearly the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf has clinched more than 100 seats as we've been picking up. 114 seats out of 272 have gone to Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, and just 64 have gone to the PMLN that has previously ruled Pakistan. Now, as had this been a cricket match, and Imran would have certainly loved it, that it's a sunny day in Pakistan, and Pakistan have chosen to bat first, as they would put it, because primarily the narrative that Imran Khan had built was against that corruption fight, the fight against corruption that he had been saying, and that it was given a boost by the Panama Papers. That was a blessing in disguise for Imran Khan and the Imran Khan narrative. So it has what we are to see that how will Imran Khan and his party form the government, considering the fact that they don't have an absolute majority, contrary to how it was previously in the PMLN government as well. Yes, Ramesh.
Anas, last night we heard from both Shahbaz Sharif and Bilawal Bhutto Zardari. Are they at all speaking this morning? I mean, have they at all responded or reacted or followed up on their comments from last night?
Ramesh, not yet, because it's too early in Pakistan. It's 8 in the morning as we speak. The reason I reckon the leaders are yet to be up from their deep sleeps. They've had a long day yesterday, running around the polling stations and whatnot. But what is significant is that this time around, all of the political parties from the opposition or from the far right, those opposing Imran Khan, had uniformly said that these elections were rigged, even before the elections took place, and now on the day of the election as well. We saw the leader of the opposition, leader of the Senate from the opposition, Ms. Shahri Rahman from People's Party. She's saying this, that they have graver concerns about the elections. We saw a tweet from the Pakistan People's Party chairman Bilawal Bhutto Zardari about his polling agents being not let into the polling stations. Then we saw rigging allegations coming in from the far right party of Jamiat Ulama-e-Islam, Fazlur Rahman, with the chief Maulana Fazlur Rahman. He said that these elections were rigged. So by far, but this is something very common, because even in the last election, where Imran Khan alleged that it was rigging that was done and to make him lose, the same parties actually stood by Imran Khan, except for a few. To name a few, the JUIF stood by Nawaz Sharif because they took out, they clinched their seats. This time the tides have changed. Imran Khan is the one saying that look, there has been no rigging, and whereas the rest of the parties are saying that the rigging has been done, contrary to how it was when in 2013, where the rest of the parties were somehow on Imran Khan's side, and Imran Khan had been saying that rigging was there, pretty much there. Yes,
Anas, do stay on. I will come back to you after fixing the audio line with you. But if I can go back to my guest, Dhruv Jaishankar, who continues to be with us from New Delhi. Dhruv, thank you for your patience. Now, if I can come to you about the arithmetic of the Pakistani elections. Now, although PTI has emerged as single largest party with a simple majority, Imran Khan will still require the support of some smaller fringe parties, the conservative, religious / terror groups or political parties operating on the fringes of Pakistani polity. But that said, some of the other political parties, such as the Hafiz Saeed's Allahu Akbar Tehreek, have not done well at all. Is that one of the redeeming features of this election, you think?
The arithmetic we'll have to see based on the final results. It's a little too early to predict what the coalition will actually look like. But on the question of religious parties, I mean, some of my colleagues have done a lot of work on that.
Right.
And this has been used for 10, 15, 20 years as an excuse that Pakistan is not so moving towards extremism, because if you look at the electoral performances of extremist parties, they've not done very well historically. I'm not sure how much credence how much we should see that as a good news story. In fact, this election, we've seen the mainstreaming and the Pakistan Election Commission allowing several parties to run for power, several individuals and parties to run in the elections who are under the scanner by international terrorist organizations. So that's not a very good sign. I think we'll have to see not so much, many of them will not win, obviously, but what their vote share is. I think that will be a better indicator of the trends. And so even if they get 5-10% of the vote, I'm not sure that's and lose ultimately, that may not be a very heartening sign for where Pakistan is going.
Indeed. Maid Ali, thank you for continue to be with us on this discussion. Now, many people I spoke to this morning, including in our studios, say that they did not expect so many seats to fall in the kitty of Imran Khan or PTI. Are you surprised that Imran Khan won this many seats? All right, I'm told we have lost that connection with Maid Ali. We'll try to get that line up and about in just a bit. But to recap for the benefit of our viewers, the results coming in from Pakistan as we speak. The PTI, the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf of Imran Khan, leading on 113 seats. The PMLN of Nawaz Sharif on 64. And the PPP of Bilawal Bhutto Zardari on 43. The PTI clearly emerging as the single largest party, but falling short of absolute majority, which means it will need to align with other smaller fringe parties. All right, let's try to understand the man who has the edge here, who is being called Pakistan's Prime Minister in waiting. Imran Khan was the quintessential playboy, known for his flamboyance. One editorial called his party a fan club of his handsome head. Of course, there's more to it. He has built his political career on a carefully crafted narrative, projecting himself as an ultra-conservative leader and an outsider who will cleanse the corrupt system. Here's a recap of Imran Khan's journey from the cricket field to the political arena. All right, my guest Dhruv Jaishankar from Delhi continues to be with us, but I'm now joined by Pakistani actor Hamza Ali. Good morning, Hamza, for joining us this Thursday morning on WION. Now, it's the day after the polling in Pakistan, PTI leading 114 seats. Are you at all surprised by the performance of Imran Khan's PTI, or did you expect this all along?
Ji, a very good morning to you too, and thank you so much for having me on your show. This victory, considering how things have gone in the past 1 year.
Victory for whom, if I might ask?
Victory for Imran Khan, let me assure you. This is not a election which is engineered by the establishment. This is not an election engineered by the Pakistan Army. These are only fake narratives which are being spread by Nawaz Sharif and his party, because they have been caught red-handed in corruption. And it's the first time in Pakistan that a big shot has been punished for corruption. And I think to deviate from that punishment, they're putting forward this narrative that, oh, this is a conspiracy by the Pakistan Army, and we haven't done any corruption. And I have to say very sadly that some publications, very well-respected publications in India, are also spreading this narrative, which I find very hurtful in a way, because there is no evidence of this narrative. There is no objective evidence. It's only based upon connect-the-dot logics of basically PMLN.
Hamza, you certainly seem to be in a minority of one when you say that. Many people I've spoken to this morning and last night in India, around the world, insist that this was scripted by the so-called Pakistani establishment, whoever or whatever that might be. But anyway, coming back to the point,
I'll tell you who those people are. If I might interrupt.
Sure, please go ahead.
Let me assure you, I belong to the majority in Pakistan, and those people about whom you're talking about, they're in fact the minority. I can tell you about them on my fingertips. People like Mubashir Zaidi, Gul Bukhari, Hussain Haqqani. There is this group of people in Pakistan who have always bashed the Pakistan Army, who have always bashed ISI. This is a very small group. All the articles that you see on Bloomberg, on BBC, on even Al Jazeera, they are written by these 20 to 30 people who make up this group of super intellectuals in Pakistan who see a conspiracy in everything when things are not going their way. And they, by default, are not very fond of Imran Khan because he has taken also the religious groups on board. He hasn't shied away from that. And they absolutely resent him for that. And now they have also jumped on the bandwagon of Nawaz Sharif, and they are putting this conspiracy forward. And let me assure you, they are a minority. Majority of the people in Pakistan, they went out, they voted, and they voted for PTI and Imran Khan. And this, I fail to understand, why is this a surprise? Imran Khan is the only candidate in Pakistan who is a politician solely because of his own hard work. He does not have a dynasty. He does not have, how Nawaz Sharif was put in politics by General Zia, by the army establishment. So he doesn't have that establishment factor behind him. He doesn't have a dynasty of politicians. He is the only politician in Pakistan who for 24 years has hard to be years. So we can't demean his struggle and the facts by attributing this victory to political engineering by the Pakistan military.
Right, fair point.
I think that's very...
Indeed, your point is well taken, Hamza. But this is the same gentleman who supported the blasphemy law, who he has the moniker Taliban Khan, who supports the terror groups. He's non-committal on cross-border terrorism directed against both India and Afghanistan. But that said, now many people say even the PTI cadres themselves are surprised at the election results, 114 at last count. And some people also say that Pakistani army is the winner in all of this. So what is the Naya in Naya Pakistan of Imran Khan?
I'll tell you, firstly, the things that you've mentioned. They called him Taliban Khan because he opposed Pakistan getting into the war that was, at that point in time, war of United States. And even now, India, US, even Afghan government are going for negotiations with those same Taliban, and they have accepted them as a part of the social fabric of the Afghanis. So what he said all those years ago is being now thought of as the right approach towards the Afghan issue. You can't just go and carpet bomb people. So his approach in 2002 is now being proven right. Secondly, everybody in Pakistan, let me assure you, look, I'm known as a hawk. I speak for Kashmir. I speak against what I think are Indian atrocities in Kashmir. But let me assure you something. There is no Shiv Sena here. There is no extremist mainstream group here. Nobody in Pakistan by attacks. We all think of it as terrorism when there are civilians who die in India or Afghanistan. This is an absolutely wrong notion, which is being portrayed in India that he supports terrorism. In Kashmir, no. Both countries, India and Pakistan, let's face it, have an issue which is called Kashmir. So our relationship with India is to some extent based on the solution of Kashmir issue. And he's saying the same thing. So he's not saying something which is an exception. That is the will of Pakistani people. That is the popular public opinion. So I think that Naya Pakistan is, number one, a person like Imran Khan, who has the backbone to take stands internationally and say the right thing, regardless of where the power politics narrative is.
Okay.
That kind of man, breaking the nexus of PMLN and PPP, coming to power, number one, that's new. Number two, we have a prime minister now, inshallah, who is known to be not financially corrupt, even by his opponents. Number three, in Pakistan, finally, we have a new set of people who are going to take charge of the economy, of the foreign policy, of the defense policy, and of the interior policy. So everything is new right now, and these are the people who have not been tested before on the federal level. That's the Naya Pakistan.
Fair enough. Now, you say that there are new people set to take over Pakistan. Imran Khan is an unknown entity. He will have a new set of people to advise him on foreign policy. But the question everybody is asking around the world is, what is new in Naya Pakistan if it is the same old Pakistani establishment, namely the army and ISI, which continue to be in the driver's seat or having a rearguard action, so to speak, and to control the political players, be it Imran Khan or otherwise?
Imran Khan is number one. You're saying he's an unknown player. He is definitely not an unknown player.
And some also call him a proxy of the Pakistani army.
Okay. That's what the opponents, unfortunately, it's a very tragic tradition in Pakistan, maybe because our history of democracy, continuous democracy, is only 10, 12 years old. It's a tragedy in Pakistan that the losing party always says that the elections are rigged. Now, the problem is this is not Musharraf's time. This is not Ziaul Haq's time. There is no dictatorship in Pakistan. The election commissioner was appointed by Nawaz Sharif. The caretaker prime minister was appointed by PMLN and People's Party. From the election commissioner to the chief of the army staff to the ISI chief, everybody has been appointed by the democratic government. So this is not Musharraf or Zia time. Now they cannot find an excuse about the military dictatorship. So they're going ahead and saying that even though we appointed all the heads of these institutions, including the army chief, but because we have lost and we do not have enough grace to say that, yes, we have lost elections, best of luck to the new government. Hence, we will now come up with this narrative that this is all controlled by ISI. This is not the truth.
Right.
This is only an opinion-based narrative. It has no objective reality. Think about it yourself. And from the Prime Minister to the Army Chief to the NAB Chairman to the Election Commissioner, they have all been appointed by Nawaz Sharif's party. So then how can you say that this is all a conspiracy?
All right. Your point is well taken, Hamza Ali. Maid Ali is patiently standing by. I want to go across to Dhruv Jaishankar one more time. Dhruv, we heard from Pakistani actor Hamza Ali just moments ago. He says expect a new deal, so to speak, from Imran Khan's government. He will have a new team of advisors to advise him on foreign policy and so on. Can Imran Khan be his own man going forward, you think?
You know, I'm not in a position to really speak about the domestic trends in Pakistan. I mean, I would refer to the variety of voices that are there in Pakistan.
Sure.
And there is obviously a very large difference of opinion. I would just say, I think some of it will depend on the kind of the arithmetic that will end up, we will see in terms of the coalition, how strong a mandate Imran Khan gets in this election. But again, I would look back into, if you look at the last 25 years of Pakistani history, you've seen a series of prime ministers who've had changing relationships with the other actors in the spectrum, including Nawaz Sharif himself. Throughout, he had his ups and downs in the 90s. He had his differences with Musharraf. And so I think we'll have to see. I mean, the Imran Khan has shown himself to an ability to reinvent himself periodically over his 2-decade political career. So there's no reason to believe that he may not be able to reinvent himself in the future as well. So I think some of the suppositions we will have to constantly revisit. But the final point, I mean, again, the internal machinations I would leave to other people, but it's quite indicative that 2 months ago, by mid-May, if you look at most Pakistani polls, the PMLN had a very healthy lead, which was quite consistent over the past few years. And it's really on the last 2 months that there's been, for a variety of reasons, a sudden surge of the PTI and a drop in the PMLN. So I don't think it's been exactly unengineered, if I can say that. There really have been events in the last 2 months that have changed the electoral outcome. But in any case, you have to see now going forward what that means.
All right, on that note, Dhruv Jaishankar, thank you so much for joining us on the discussion. Appreciate it. Well, if I can go to Maid Ali one more time. Maid Ali, we heard Hamza Ali talk about how the verdict is against policy of dynasty. It's a verdict against corrupt politicians such as Nawaz Sharif. At the same time, this is a man who supported the blasphemy law, who has the moniker Taliban Khan. And surprise of surprises, his party is doing pretty well in the Punjab province, which is a stronghold of PMLN. How do you read this election verdict, the arithmetic as it stands today, with PTI 114 and PMLN 64?
Well, I'll certainly disagree with Hamza on a few counts, if he doesn't mind. I don't want to discuss the establishment or the engineering or anything else, but whatever he said about Imran Khan, the party that he stands on, the party that he's leading, is 60% of the PMLN turncoats, or 40-30% of the PVV turncoats. These are all borrowed people, electables, which he has taken from other parties, and the people who've been managed by the establishment. And I know it for sure as a journalist that people have been harassed. They've been asked to join the PTI. But I don't. You see, the point is, I wonder how people could ignore all these things and say that everything is fine as far as Imran Khan is concerned. And as for Nawaz Sharif, he was also the product of the establishment. And I remember Imran Khan supporting General Musharraf in his referendum, and then having some problems with him lately. And I remember Imran Khan being supported in the last elections by General Pasha, and by so many other peoples, and he was supported by even the agencies during his dharna. You see, I'm at a loss to understand how people forget all these things, and they start naming names. That if somebody is disagreeing with the PTI narrative, is supporting PMLN. I don't understand that. You see, it's a clear thing. We are watching that. I would like Hamza to substantiate how Imran Khan could win so much seats or lead on seats in Karachi. Well, I have a problem in that. You see, his win in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, or his win in Punjab, or his win elsewhere, I can understand. I can live with that. You see, but as far as his lead in Karachi, it is strange. It is strange to me. And a win in Balochistan, you see, he never had any roots in Sindh or in Balochistan. He had his roots in Punjab or Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. Well, I don't know how come things change so suddenly in Pakistan. I would like Mr. Hamza to explain how all this happened.
Right, you were listening to analyst Maed Ali and actor Hamza Ali from Pakistan. At this point in time, I want to introduce two more guests joining us this Thursday morning. Sushant Sareen, Strategic Affairs Analyst in New Delhi. And also joining us live from New Delhi is Kiran Stacey, the South Asia correspondent for the Financial Times newspaper. Welcome to Sushant Sareen and Kiran Stacey. Thank you for joining us on Beyond this morning. If I can come to you, Sushant, for now. Prime Minister Imran Khan, how does that sound to you this Thursday morning?
Well, it was something which was being spoken about. It was something which was somewhat expected. But it sounds nice to me, because I think...
Why do you say that?
I'll tell you, because I think he'll do to Pakistan what Asif Ali Zardari has done to the Pakistan People's Party. And I don't think that's a bad thing as far as India is concerned. That's as simple as that. He's vacuous. He doesn't have any program. His rhetorical flourishes are all very well, but in terms of actual program, it's pretty over the top. What the promises he has made, he can't live up to them. The economy is broken completely. Just trying to fix it is going to lose him a lot of political capital. The promises which he has made of 10 million jobs and I don't know how many millions of houses and what have you, where is the money for all of that? So clearly, he's a person who has been selected by the deep state because they were up to their...
Did you say selected, Sushant?
Yes, I use that word advisedly.
And what makes you say that?
I don't know how much you follow Pakistan. I do. It's not a hobby for me. It's my profession. And if you look at what has been happening in Pakistan over the last year and a half, the way the entire field has been set, the way people from the opposition parties, which are now going to be the opposition parties, have been browbeaten, intimidated, jailed, disqualified, the way their campaigns were obstructed, all sorts of obstacles were put in their path. The entire delimitation exercise, I think I was hearing somebody speak about what was happening in Karachi. That has come as a major surprise, although one will have to see how the votes have broken down, because there was also a boycott call, and maybe that has had some impact. on the MQM's Pakistan's prospects. But other than that, there was no way that the PTI could sweep through Karachi or even North Punjab. South Punjab was expected that they'll make major inroads out there. But in North Punjab and the way they've swept Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, I think there were at least a number of seats where their prospects were very, very slim. And yet they seem to have swept it all. So clearly there was a lot of political engineering which was at work. The entire setup was such that there were bans which were being imposed on news organizations to air speeches, to not bring on PMLN activists, even in talk shows towards the end. All sorts of shenanigans have taken place. Now, if after, in the face of all of that, somebody says that, look, nothing of the sort happened, then I suppose denial is the second name of Pakistan.
Right, point well taken, Sushant. Do stay on. I want to go across to Kiran Stacey in New Delhi. Kiran, Imran Khan calls it Naya Pakistan. Naya is Hindi or Urdu for new. But if some people believe that it's the same old Pakistani deep state, namely the Pakistani army and the ISI, which will control the reins of power going forward, what's new in Naya Pakistan?
Well, we'll have to see. We'll have to see what Prime Minister Imran Khan, if that is going to be the result at the end of today, what his program is likely to be. Sushant mentioned the economy in Pakistan.
Right.
Actually, I think what Naya Pakistan is going to be about in the next few months is whether Imran Khan can actually rescue the economy. And the first thing he may have to do is go to the International Monetary Fund for a bailout. Now, if that happens, the IMF is likely to put very strict restrictions on what Pakistan can do and how much the Prime Minister can spend. So I think the first few months of his prime ministership may well be dominated by him having to take some incredibly unpopular decisions, whether that is cutting back spending, whether that is allowing the currency to be devalued, something he promised on the campaign trail would not happen, whether that's interest rate rises or curbs on imports. I think the first few months is going to be very, very tough for whoever is prime minister, but assuming it's Imran Khan, it'll be very tough for him.
Kiran, on the point of economy, now the IMF review is up for consideration in September this year. The FATF, the Financial Action Task Force plenary, will happen in October, where Pakistan will be expected to act on the recommendations of the 26 points that were enlisted by the FATF. In your estimation, you think the challenges lie on the economic front or the political front / foreign policy front, or both? I mean, the number of challenges seems to be endless for Imran Khan.
To a certain extent. I mean, the absolute immediate crisis that he has to deal with is economic entirely.
Okay.
Yes, there are longer-term foreign policy concerns. He has to negotiate a tricky relationship with Washington and Donald Trump, for example. I spoke to Imran Khan last week, and he told me that he planned to scale back Pakistani cooperation with the war in Afghanistan. Now, that'll be a very interesting thing to watch how that plays out. But in the immediate term, he has to rescue the economy. Pakistan only has about $9 billion worth of foreign currency reserves in stock, which is less than 2 months' worth of imports. So very soon, it's simply not going to be able to pay its international creditors. And when that happens, it'll be faced with a decision. Does it default? Does it do what Argentina did? Does it go to the IMF? Does it try and do some kind of other financial engineering? I have heard that some people are expecting the country to be in a really, really seriously bad position by the end of the year. Energy shortages, queues at fuel stations, things like that. So that is going to be the crisis that Imran Khan faces when he first comes in.
Right. Coming back to you, Sushant, Imran Khan, even as recently as yesterday morning, said that Prime Minister Modi of India liked Nawaz Sharif, the Indian media liked Nawaz Sharif, the Indian government liked Nawaz Sharif. They would have continued to, be happy to see him continue in power in one way or another. But in your estimation, now that Prime Minister Imran Khan seems to be a probability, do you see Prime Ministers Imran Khan and Prime Minister Narendra Modi getting along in the immediate future?
Frankly, I don't think even if they get along, it makes any difference. Simply because, and frankly, I think, India is such a non-serious country that actually there were people, and we have such a non-serious press, that actually people tried to project Nawaz Sharif as a man who was very well disposed towards India. I have often challenged people to tell me one initiative which Nawaz Sharif took, which was in favor of India. He said all the right things, all right. And if that created a perception that he was well disposed towards India, then I think we really need to re-examine our entire Pakistan policy, because obviously we don't know what we are dealing with. But having said that, even the fact that he was saying some nice things about India or sounding very conciliatory towards India was not acceptable to the powers that be in Pakistan. So to think that Imran Khan is going to be able to make any big difference, I don't think. In any case, the civilian politicians do not control the India policy. They only rubber stamp it. So whether it was Imran Khan or Hafiz Saeed who became the Prime Minister, it won't make any difference as far as India-Pakistan, the dynamics, the larger dynamics of India-Pakistan relations are concerned, because those are actually controlled and directed by the Pakistani army. Let me just come back to the economy a little bit.
Sure.
You know, the Pakistani rupee has tanked. They've lost about 30% over the last 6-7 months. And there are some people who fear that the rupee might touch 140, maybe even 150. Now, please remember, Kiran spoke about energy shortages. The bulk of the energy crisis is a financial crisis. The production is basically on thermal, which is oil, gas, and stuff like that. With the rupee depreciating, the prices of energy are going to skyrocket. As it is, Pakistani energy is overpriced, and Pakistani businessmen feel that they lose their competitiveness because of the kind of prices they pay for energy. Now, if those energy prices are going to go up by another 20-30%, it becomes unaffordable, and that creates a ripple effect, not just as far as the economic engine is concerned, but also as far as the people are concerned, because their cost of living goes up tremendously. And then, the entire gamut that growth rates are going to fall, all sorts of other problems are going to confront Pakistan in the near future. On the FATF, please remember, just yesterday or day before, an ordinance which the Pakistan government had passed to satisfy some of the FATF requirements has lapsed.
Right.
Now, Imran Khan will have to either reissue that ordinance or pass an act converting that ordinance into an act. Otherwise, they fall foul of all the commitments that they've given to the FATF. And then, on top of that, if he is going to crack down on going to pull back on some of the cooperation, assuming there is any cooperation from the Pakistanis on the Afghan front, then please remember that you're not dealing with a namby-pamby like Obama now. You're dealing with a crazy guy like Trump. And who knows what he might do after, if you are going to jeopardize the American mission in Afghanistan, then all bets are off as far as the US-Pakistan relations are concerned.
Right. So, Shant and Kiran, do stay on. I want to play out a soundbite of Nawaz Sharif from 26 years ago. Listen in.
Are you proud of the young boy?
Oh yes, they've done extremely well.
If he was to go into politics, he'd be the right man to have on your team, would he?
I offered him a long time ago, but he declined. I don't know why.
Sensible.
My offer is still valid.
Now, in benefit of hindsight, Nawaz Sharif might rue those comments made 26 years ago. But coming back to the discussion at hand with my guests, Sushant Sareen and Kiran Stacey. Sushant, you mentioned about the political economy situation of Pakistan. Now, Imran Khan, in the lead up to the election, has spoken with a forked tongue, so to speak, on the economy situation. He says he is not averse to having trade ties with India. At the same time, he's expressed reservation on the CPEC corridor, the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor project. How might that play out in the region vis-a-vis India and China, you think?
As far as CPEC is concerned, I think there are already some alarm bells which are ringing, not just in Pakistan, but also in China. The Chinese have been warning some of their businessmen and others that please don't expect any return on your investment. The Pakistani economy is so broke that already they are defaulting on some of the payments they have to make
Right, we'll try to fix that Skype connection with Sushant in a bit. But Kiran, if you're still with me, would you like to take that question about Imran Khan speaking about the political economy of Pakistan in the lead up to the elections? On the one hand, he says he is not averse to having better trade ties with India. On the other hand, he has reservations about the CPEC project with China. Your thoughts?
The CPEC thing is very interesting. When I spoke to Imran Khan last week, he was saying that he wanted to change a few things about how CPEC runs. He's talked particularly about redistributing some of the money, so more of it goes to other states outside Punjab. He's talked about being more public with the terms in which the Chinese have been lending to Pakistan. All of this will be viewed with some caution in Beijing, where, you know, they don't want this to all be renegotiated at the last minute. But here's an important caveat. He may well not end up being in charge of CPEC policy, because if Imran Khan has to go to the IMF within months of taking over, the IMF might actually say, well, I'm sorry, you can't have all these CPEC projects because they're sapping too much money out of your coffers. You're going to have to cancel this one, renegotiate that one, delay that one. The IMF might also say you're going to have to publish full details on all of this. So that is actually a bigger threat to CPEC than anything Imran Khan himself might want to do.
Kiran, we've been discussing about the politics of the man, but what about the man himself? What impressions did you leave after your interview with Imran Khan? What do you make of Imran Khan, the man, vis-a-vis Imran Khan, the cricketer turned politician?
Well, to a certain extent, the man is very much the same as the impression that you get of him. I've interviewed him twice. Once I sat down with him for over an hour at his home in the hills outside Islamabad. And last week it was a much quicker stop between campaign events. And both times the impression I got was a man who is supremely confident. He talks in a very relaxed way. He's very rarely ruffled, although he does have a flash of temper if challenged too hard on certain issues. I think when he comes in, he will have very little self-doubt. I think he will not want to share power with other parties. And I think he will want to prove that he is the clean broom that he has promised to be. However, I think, having read his manifesto, there are gaps. I'm not sure he's thought through all of his important policy items. I'm not sure he's fully across the detail on everything. I did ask him, for example, about the currency crisis that Pakistan is currently facing, and he wasn't really able to answer the question. He said simply that the man who is likely to become his finance minister was currently leading a review and would come up with some answers in the next few weeks. Well, that is going to be a very urgent topic for him. Day one in office, he is going to have to deal with that, and he's going to have some answers very soon.
Indeed, and going by the leads and results coming in this moment, Kiran, PTI leading on 114 seats, PMLN 64, and the PPP on 43. PTI doing pretty well in the Punjab province, which is stronghold of PMLN of the Sharif brothers, and retaining the province of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, and also doing pretty well in Karachi and other provinces, parts of the Sindh province. So, in your estimation, would you agree with the submission by some on my discussion this morning that this is a verdict against dynastic politics, against corrupt politicians, namely the Sharif brothers?
It's certainly a verdict against the status quo, and I don't think Pakistan is alone in this. In fact, I see Imran Khan as part of a line of leaders, Narendra Modi being another example of this, who come from outside the political mainstream, who've made an argument that the elites who've been running the country for decades are inherently corrupt, and that it's time for change. Donald Trump ran on a similar ticket. There seems to be almost a global mood of pushing out elites, pushing out families, parties that have been in power for a long time, and looking to something new. And when I was in Lahore last week, I found a lot of that. I had conversations, particularly with younger people, who were just saying, look, we've had the same people governing us for so long. The economy is in a mess. We don't punch our weight internationally. We need to try something different. There's embedded corruption. But one of the interesting things was I was talking to one man in particular. He ran a shop in Lahore. And he said the reason that he was going to vote for Imran Khan is that every week a policeman would come to his shop and demand a bribe. And he was just fed up of this. And he thought Imran Khan was going to be the man to clear this up. Now, as Narendra Modi has found here in India, clearing up that kind of ground level, granular corruption that just takes place in people's day-to-day lives is incredibly difficult, even if you've got all the will in the world. There's reasons that are built up for years why those practices are allowed to continue. And no prime minister is going to be able to solve that problem, I don't think even within the first few years of their prime ministership. The question is, will voters stay with him even if they're not given everything that they thought they were going to get, even if Pakistan doesn't suddenly become a paragon of virtue, a clean economy and a clean society? If that doesn't happen, then what are voters going to think of him?
All right, on that note, I want to thank my guests Hamza Ali and Maid Ali, Sushant Sareen and Kiran Stacey. Thank you all for joining me on the discussion. Appreciate it.